Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance, we got action,
Romance.
we got comedy, we got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Alright, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
And Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle.
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
Meanwhile, in New Jersey...
So, Marissa, what talking points do you want to hit on in this week's episode?
Well, Jackie, let's talk about how the film addresses the patriarchy. Ooh, and representation of marginalized people. Ooh, and even philosophical ramifications of good versus evil in horror.
We can point out the triangle boobs, talk about the blood splatter, and the practical effects. And also the male gaze.
My gaze at the males.
Hi-oh! From feminism to fangirling, the Jersey Ghouls cover all the bases of horror from a woman's perspective.
New episodes are uploaded every other Sunday.
Just search Jersey Ghouls to find us on social media and your favorite podcasting app.
We're back with another episode of Horror Movie Night, and this week we are talking about 1990's Mirror Mirror, a film that bafflingly has a lot more sequels than I realized that did.
An insane amount of sequels. I'm baffled by the fact that there's any sequels. What are you talking about? How many are there?
We just said
three?
last episode that it's so rare for us to talk about a movie that's not a sequel, yet Mirror Mirror has 3 sequels to it, and we're going to start out with Mirror Mirror 1. Yeah, crazy. I have not seen any of the sequels, and I will tell you that this watch does make me want to continue down this Mirror Mirror road.
This was so fun.
Yeah.
This movie was like...
It doesn't
stuff that we've discussed in 2025. This might be this might be the night killer of 2025 for me.
Oh, that's exciting. This movie doesn't get as much love as I think it deserves, and that only solidified on this rewatch. Honestly, like I was really glad we got to watch it for this and to celebrate an anniversary. This is 1990.
Yeah. Do you have an anniversary? Something to clink for the anniversary, my friend?
To that anniversary, I sure do. I sure do. This is another one from Beard. Back-to-back Beards. This is Check Out My Trapper Keeper. And for those who are on the Patreon who can see the video, it has a beautiful sort of like Lisa Frank-inspired lineup of stickers and Technicolor animals. And I was just thinking this is very much a high school movie. I do think there's a couple times where somebody falls and drops all their shit, including their Trapper Keeper. Yeah. So this is what I went with. What about you, Scott?
I have... Your vanity is showing. I was the most proud of this. You know, when
That's
I told you, I was like, I got most of my summer stuff already lined up. This is the one I was like, oh, fuck yeah. It's from Magic City, which they're in Akron.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Nice, some good beers here.
That is a weird beer. What is this? It is it's an imperial fruited sour with blackberry, blueberry, grapefruit, mango, cherry, and lactose. Oh,
that's wild because I took a sip of mine too and was like, this is weird. It's a New England style pale ale milkshake. So mine also has lactose in it. So
I think that I took my one sip of mine, and that's it for me. That one's not.
Yeah, you did it.
That was a mistake. Oh well.
So real quick, looking at these 3 sequels that we got to Mirror Mirror, it seems like the second one is still kind of a straightforward horror film, and then we very quickly dive into erotic thrillers.
Yeah.
So the second one is called Mirror Mirror 2. There's Mirror Mirror 2, Raven Dance. There's Mirror Mirror 3, The Voyeur. And there's Mirror Mirror 4, Reflections. But something that's noteworthy, and I love this, Mirror Mirror 2, I'm actually kind of excited for us to do. All right? We've got...
It's already on the list.
We got Roddy McDowall.
What?
We got Victoria... or Veronica Cartwright from The Simpsons. And
the big name.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
One of his earliest movie roles. William Sanderson is back, but playing a different character. And then I saw that in Mirror Mirror 3, The Voyeur, Mark Ruffalo is back playing a different character. So Mirror Mirror loved to bring back actors to play different characters. But this plot line for Mirror Mirror 2, the plot follows a teenage orphan who finds herself haunted by a mysterious mirror inside the Catholic orphanage in which she's living in.
Whoa.
Just screams all of our likes, kind of just like in a melting pot.
This is very nice.
And also,
this is going to be huge.
Billy Drago is in Mirror Mirror 3, The Voyeur, which is just, this looks.
That movie, that box art for Mirror Mirror 3 looks so fucking sleazy. It's the sleaziest box art I've seen in a long time.
It does not say anything. Nothing about that says to me Mirror Mirror sequel. Everything about that screams Red Shoe Diaries. So
yeah, I love this this quick thing on Mirror Mirror 3 because I don't think we're going to be doing it anytime soon. TV Guide awarded the film 1 out of 4 stars and said the only surprises to be found in Mirror Mirror 3 is that it took 2 directors to plot this listless acting, horror elements, and lengthy but ineffective sex scenes.
Wow. Ineffective sex scenes. That is that
no one had
dragged
their fun.
them. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's about as mean as you can get about a sex scene
pretty fucking
in a
rude.
review.
For an erotic supernatural movie, that's brutal.
Yeah. Nuts. Well,
Matt, was this your first watch of horror horror?
Listen, it's horror movie night here, and we're talking about Mirror Mirror.
Is this your first watch, Matt?
This was probably my first paying attention watch. I bought this from VHS PS. This was like a Monster Mania VHS PS purchase years ago. I want to say I bought it the year that we shared a table with Fright School and the Jersey Ghouls.
2008? That might have been 2019 or 2019, 2018, 18 or 19.
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah. And I probably watched it right when I got home, thought, all right, and then kind of moved on. But it was like I'll throw this on in the background. If it grabs my attention, I'll consider it pick-worthy. And if it just kind of plays and nothing entices me, then I'll just assume that it wasn't particularly good. But this is fun. I think you guys liked it more than me, but I didn't hate it. I definitely had fun watching it. But my first note says Orphan Eye Studios. Who the fuck is that?
What a terrible name for a studio.
Bad.
Makes a lot more sense for the sequel, though.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Maybe they made this to make the sequel. Maybe Raven's Dance was the goal all along. And they finally made it. This movie, I've watched this a couple of times now. Again, maybe only 2 full through, but this movie has a lot of influence on Ouchie in more ways than even I remember when we initially picked it up. We've included a lot in the lookbook and sort of in a couple scenes just in what Jeanette and I were talking about, and rewatching it now that Ouchie's done and out and in the world, it made me a little giddy to sort of remember the things that we pulled from or built upon or just were inspired by from this movie. But the movie's great. This is another directorial debut, female directed. Apparently over 60% of the crew cast and crew were female, which is so rad. And
for 1990, that's big.
For 1990 is wild, right? Yeah, and so This debuted at Cannes. I mean, it just exists.
This
There's not
debuted
a
at
ton
Cannes?
of.
It's
Yeah.
wild that this debuted at Cannes. I was.
Yeah. Well, listen, 1990 Cannes. I mean, it's still a prominent film festival, but it's one of those things where I don't know if it necessarily had the popular culture lift that it does now.
Sure. Okay.
So I might be talking out my ass. There might be a more hardcore cinephile out there that's like, actually 1990 was a really great year.
Yeah, I'm actually going to look this up. We're gonna.
Yeah.
I'm going to see
Matt
what played.
might come back
Matt
and say
is
that to me.
the hardcore cinephile that's going to say, well, actually, in that same voice.
But it premiered there. It did fine. It just kind of existed. There wasn't a big pull for it, and actually, even beyond that, there was one large Blu-ray release for this from Dark Force Entertainment. It's not even. I'm not Dark Force. You probably put out a great disc, but it's just not in the world that I thought that it would get the love that it does. But that's all. That's neither here nor there. This movie exists from 1990, female-directed directorial debut, and this is how it starts. Sometime in the 1950s, a woman is stabbed to death in front of a standing mirror, and then decades later, and that's how the movie starts. We get this quick moment of two women tussling. One gets stabbed in front of this tall mirror, and then decades later, Susan, a widowed mother, moves into this home that doesn't look like anybody's been in there since this murder, with her goth teenage daughter, Megan. And Megan looks like Lydia from...
She's Lydia Deetz to a T.
She's just
Yeah.
Lydia Deetz. It's really quite crazy. And played by Rainbow Harvest.
Rainbow Harvest? It's her real name.
Real name. Yeah, Rainbow Harvest, real name. Widowed mother is played by Karen Black, which we love
Karen
to
Black.
see. She's doing great here.
Her wigs are out of control in this movie.
Her wigs are nuts.
But this is one of my favorite HMN Karen Black appearances because she's been in a significant portion of material that we've discussed, but nothing quite as fun as this.
The thing
like
about
Children of the Night is the last thing that I remember her being, like the most recent thing, and that was not nearly as fun as this. But she always just aims for the fences.
The thing about Karen Black, and the thing about, like, I would say a handful of horror actors, is that there are some horror actors that you can be like, I wish I had a better example. You could be like, oh, Tony Todd plays Tony Todd in almost everything, right? And like you can sort of be like, oh, he's a great actor, and he plays a role really well.
Yeah.
He does it so well. But like Karen Black, on paper, you can't just like point out. Like I feel like you have to just like experience her in each of her roles to then get a better and bigger appreciation for her. Like when she pops up in House of a Thousand, the first time I ever saw her was House of a Thousand Corpses, I didn't understand her. Like, and then I saw her at a horror convention. I didn't understand like her depth or her like the reason that she was even in there, right?
Yeah.
And then just as I continue to find films with her in them, it's like, oh, she's fucking great, and she's great as Susan in Mirror Mirror. Megan, on the other hand, Rainbow Harvest character Megan does not do so hot in this new environment that she got moved into. She gets bullied in high school, picked on by her classmates, except for Nikki, who is a good girl who is running for she's an A-cup class president candidate, and has a horny and needy boyfriend named Ron. Nikki is campaigning against a C-cup class president named Charlene, who is unrelenting and bullies Nikki, Ron, Megan. She is just a force to be reckoned with. But Megan, one of the things that she has in this new home of hers is that somehow, supernaturally, she got to keep this standing mirror. The auctioneer and the realtor all thought that this mirror came with them. It did not. And the auctioneer, played by Yvonne DiCarlo, love her. She's great. She's great in this role. She starts to thumb through journals that she found in this house that the mirror is actually possessed by a demonic force, and it'll grant you some wishes, and it's a little bit of a Wishmaster-y scenario, and it doesn't really affect her yet. Like, the pace in which she's finding these things out is different than the pace of which Megan is in high school and in her life, and they don't quite parallel, so the timeline's a little wonky, but we start to find out that this mirror is haunted, and that night, one of those nights, Megan is just really hating herself. She's yelling in the mirror, and that's how you know she's goth, besides the dress, is that she's just absolutely yelling about how much she hates herself in her own mirror. And then that night she dreams that her dad comes back to her life to try to heal her and heal things, but it's not just her dad, it's a decaying demon, and it's pretty gross.
It is, and that's actually a really disturbing scene. I don't know if it would have hit me as hard in high school, but like, that's like real nightmare fuel right there.
This is kind of the turning point for me a little bit, as it's not just being like a demon possession or possessed item movie. It really starts to become more about Susan having these different personalities and not being able to care and tend to her daughter, whether it be, you know, directly or sort of indirectly, not being able to care for her daughter because of what they have gone through in this moment, and Susan's trying to deal with it in her own way, and she's totally disregarding Megan, who is dealing with her own shit in this new environment, in new school, and that, you know, Megan is seeking something to help her cope in this moment, and it just happens to be that this mirror is also influencing her a little bit, because I'm going to skip forward a little bit, we go from this moment of her hating herself in the mirror to there being some supernatural forces that affect the things around her. You know, Megan's mom, Susan, has a suitor that comes over for dinner, and there's a really nasty little...
The guy that brings... Okay, so let's not gloss over William Sanderson's character.
No.
So as soon as they move in, one of their cute dogs dies.
Yes.
And Susan puts it on their kitchen counter and is crying about it. And Megan comes home and is like, why is that thing on the counter? And she's like, it was family. And so they call, so Susan calls a pet cemetery, basically.
Yeah.
And then she thinks he's cute and awkward, and so she invites him for dinner. And this is where we pick up the gross,
right.
nasty.
One of the two dogs, gets got. And so now Susan, just seeking connection in any capacity, is trying to connect with this pet cemetery owner, and we get like kind of like an Amityville horror-esque thing going on here with the flies coming through the mirror. We start to get a very traditional demonic presence in the house, and that translates to his dinner plate, and he freaks out, blames it on a Vietnam flashback.
Wild. He's like,
and
well, what's
gets
the line?
Fuck out of here.
I think I wrote down the line. He goes, I must be having flashbacks. I was in Vietnam, you know. And then Susan goes, I didn't know that. Like, no shit. It's she's still trying to vie for the thing, and not, you know, just like the connection. It's kind of crazy. Charlene gets a nosebleed in the that is a gross nosebleed.
Gross nosebleed, and things just start to really go from here. So Charlene has a boyfriend, Jeff, that Megan is interested in. There's a little bit of like relational things going on
Nikki.
here.
I think her friend's
Nikki
name
is the
Nikki.
Friend. Charlene is she's like Kyle said, the C Cup presidential nominee
Presidential candidate.
She's the mean girl.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Listen, man. If our candidates were just between cup size, you know, we would still come out with a winner here in this country. You know, because it's a fucking nightmare out there. If we just had, if we are still going to abide by this binary fucking, I can't. Okay. Anyway, we don't need to put this on the mirror. It's not their fault. It's everybody else's. So Charlene gets a nosebleed. The dog interrupts the possession, and the nosebleed stops. And then later on, Megan's teacher also gets like a heart attack or some sort of attack
I read it as a heart attack. Yeah.
So the power that Megan is hoping for continues to grow, even though she is not directly influenced on herself by the mirror. But then she has this moment where instead of talking about how much she hates herself in the mirror, she actually bonds with the mirror. She licks this dripping blood off the mirror, and we have this POV moment where we're like looking through at her. She's actually starting to like love this version of herself or whatever it might be, and it's kind of gnarly, and it really turns everything on its head. So that's sort of this last third of the movie where Megan now has some form of confidence, whether it be demonic or self. We start to blur the line a little bit, but she dances with Charlene's boyfriend or partner Jeff, who she has a crush on. Charlene and takes him away and then tries to give him a blowjob, but is thwarted by his supernatural indigestion. So he ends up going home with Megan, and then also is still really confused by everything. He actually gets pulled into the mirror because he denies Megan and her sexual advances, and he gets pulled in the mirror, and shit starts to get a little wonky. Megan uses this power to help her new friend Nikki win this presidential candidacy by taking shower revenge upon Charlene. And this is a great shower scene where Charlene is in there.
So long.
It goes on long,
God,
and it's honestly quite kind of tasteful in its
surprisingly for what it is, which is a naked woman getting scalded to near death.
Yes, it happens for a long time without feeling super exploitative. It is.
It's women directors for you,
matched, man. It's paralleled against the girls playing water polo under the water. So it's like you have this really harsh, gnarly steam death while you then go back to the gym class where girls are bobbing underwater playing water polo. It's really a wild scene, and it's kind of gross. But Nikki's starting to get a lot of power here. She's really taking off. I'm sorry, not Nikki. Megan is starting to get a lot of power here. Really starting to take off, and Nikki's starting to be real skeptical. Nikki's boyfriend Ron makes a sandwich.
Man!
The
crowd goes mayo, mayo, mayo. This movie is like truly funny. It doesn't feel shoehorned.
It doesn't feel shoehorned. I think that, like, in a lot of ways, it felt a lot like horror movie night fodder in the comedy aspects of it, and maybe like the content, and maybe not necessarily as many crazy kills, or though there were some, but not as.
Another girl gets her tongue cut out. So I mean, there are a lot of kills in this movie.
There's a lot. It starts to pick up in Megan / the Demon. There's a kind of a big body count here, bigger than I thought when we started the movie.
It does this interesting thing though, where, and I don't know if it's because the Tubi rip feels like it's from the VHS tape that I have more than the Blu-ray that you said happened.
It looked like a blue rip to me. It looked good. I mean, maybe I don't know anything,
mine felt pretty grainy and VHS quality when I was watching it, but
well, lucky me.
Yeah, lucky you. But I was gonna say this has a nice body count. It has some interesting ways for people to die. Specifically, we said the steam shower is probably the most unique death, but like. I also think that part of the charm is like the gore is kind of like very low budget. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's like it has that like ketchup packet level of blood in points or stuff like that, where it's like there is this charm to how how like homegrown it all kind of feels
Yeah.
at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think they saved all of their blood for one specific death, and the rest of them are pretty tame.
That's that I would say that feels accurate.
right. So and it's true, because there's supernatural deaths, there's gory deaths, there's literal demon deaths. It has the whole gamut, which is really great, and that happens with these last two. There's a doppelganger death in which a doppelganger actually kills Ron after he makes a sandwich, a Nikki doppelganger. There's a garbage disposal fake out, which is so good. Like there's not a lot of like scares in this movie, but that garbage disposal fake out pre Susan's death actually got me. I was like, I was holding on. It reminds me of some of those like prickly almost deaths that happen a lot, or like I remember prickly. I just saw two when she falls into the syringe pit. Like there's just that like, you're not going to die, but you're doing you're involved in a thing that is really painful and icky, and I don't like it. And like her putting her fucking hand in this garbage disposal, I was like,
I like that that's where you went to, like one of the most horrific things ever put to film in Saw 2 versus like, I don't know, any Final Destination movie. That was the vibe it was giving me.
That's absolutely fair. Which I hope, I haven't seen Bloodlines yet, but I hope everybody enjoyed it. It looks very fun. Okay, so now we start just knocking off characters closer and closer to Megan. Ron is gone. Nikki's a doppelganger. We lose Susan, Megan's mother, and Megan starts to really question the demonic force. She really wished that she did not take her mother, even though her mother has been the source of so much pain and suffering. But Nikki has to put a stop to whatever is happening because Megan apparently can't do it. So they get back together. They have this moment where Nikki is going to stop Megan and this demonic force. She ends up attacking Megan, killing Megan, and then wishing that she didn't, and wishing that everything was brought back to the way that it was. And then we get this, and listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if you do not want this spoiled for you, give it 1 minute. So, because it's just a silly ending, but Nikki stabs, wishes for things to go back the way that they were. We flip back to the 1950s where we were at the beginning of the film. Nikki and Megan are in the same positions as the women who were the woman who was killing another woman. Nikki has stabbed Megan and then basically sort of sacrifices her to the mirror. We have a demon scream that happens, and we then have Nikki veil the mirror, as we were told earlier that is the only way to stop the demon from coming out. The mirror has veiled, and then that's the fucking end.
I love that they're stuck in a time loop. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
I got to give a quick shout out, baby, if you're listening. Super sorry about this story. I was watching this movie when it was just me and Peter in the house, and Peter was doing what 2-year-olds do, which is like he was on the couch just bouncing and like babbling. You know, he's just going like, bah, 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 bah. And I have this on, and that demon face came out, and he just stopped everything he was doing and stared at the TV until the demon face went away. And then he just went back to bouncing or whatever. But like for a split second, I was like, man, I just fucked this kid up.
That's just going to go in the subconscious. Yeah.
It's a gnarly little, again, we don't get a ton of effects or a ton of moments, but every little moment feels kind of great and important and fun, and then we move on to the next thing. It's that demon being one of them. That's a great real ending, and I do love that we're just stuck. We're just stuck. Yep, really lovely.
That's how it is. So to update us on 1990 Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's mostly some foreign films, kind of just like film nerd stuff. But there are two pretty big ones that screened in 1990, including the film that won the main award. I forget what they call it.
Palme d'Or.
Yeah, the Palme d'Or went to David Lynch that year for Wild at Heart.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And in the out of competition category, which is what I would imagine Mirror Mirror played. Mirror Mirror is not listed on this Wikipedia page at all, for the record. But that
It
doesn't
might have
mean
just
it
played there, but not.
It may-
yeah.
But one of the two noteworthy like out of competitions, but just kind of screened at Cannes that year, was Crybaby from John Waters and The Little Mermaid from Disney.
Oh, wow.
This was when they
Weird.
first started. Yeah, this was when Disney first started to try to push their animation as like art, and they did that by saying we're going to premiere our next movie at a film festival instead of just like doing a wide release like we always do.
They called that second. They called the second golden era. Is that what they call it? Or the Renaissance, rather. The Renaissance. Era.
Yeah, that's the kickoff to the Renaissance era. Great documentary out there called "Waking Sleeping Beauty." If you ever have a chance to watch it, that just tells you all about how the Renaissance era happened.
Wow, that's crazy. But I really like this movie. I'm glad we got to celebrate it on an anniversary. I do think it might not have come up even on my radar if it wasn't for an anniversary. Again, similar to Friday the 13th. Like, I know that it influenced Ouchie a lot, but I think that I was like sort of hindsight 2020 on it in rewatching it here. I don't know if I would have picked it for the show, and I'm glad that we did.
Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance?
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
All right, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
And Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle.
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
Meanwhile, in New Jersey,
So, Marissa, what talking points do you want to hit on in this week's episode?
Well, Jackie, let's talk about how the film addresses the patriarchy. Ooh, and representation of marginalized people. Ooh, and even philosophical ramifications of good versus evil in horror.
We can point out the triangle boobs, talk about the blood splatter, and the practical effects. And also the male gaze.
My gaze at the males.
Hi-oh! From feminism to fangirling, the Jersey Ghouls cover all the bases of horror from a woman's perspective.
New episodes are uploaded every other Sunday.
Just search Jersey Ghouls to find us on social media and your favorite podcasting app.
Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
And Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle.
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
Well, Kyle, if you were having friends over and you were showing them Mirror Mirror, besides throwing Ouchie on afterwards, which we all know is the correct double feature, what else would you show people?
So my brain just like, I had a bunch, but Amityville 4: The Evil Escapes is what I would pick. There's another garbage disposal scene. There is people moving into a house in LA. There's an auctioneer / like realtor character all involved, and I think that it also the gore and the violence, since it's made for TV, does have this sort of charm that is also not extreme.
It's
that I think
comparably
matches.
tame.
It's tame, but it's still
all right.
fun.
I'm going to jump right on there because I was so afraid you were about to steal mine. I'm going to go with Amityville: A New Generation, which is the film actually about a haunted mirror from the Amityville house. And you know what? I forgot to ask this. The realtor that shows up in this movie seems fake pregnant for no explainable reason
that's
throughout
so
the movie.
Weird. Yeah, she is fake pregnant.
She might be in a sequel. She could be in the sequel. There could be a baby
Maybe
involved.
she's the one who had the kid who became the orphan who then shows up in the orphanage.
Yeah. Well, because like I'm watching it and I'm like, there's like no way that this actress is actually pregnant.
Yeah, because she's like holding. She just keeps rubbing the top of it. That's not.
That's what I mean. So it's
real
like
pregnant people
obviously
don't do that.
fake pregnant, and I'm
Pregnant
like,
things.
I was like, let's let this slide because maybe it'll come up as some type of plot point. Barely even mentioned that she's pregnant. Like it's just kind of there. All right, Scott, what is your double feature?
Well, I wasn't going to go here, but I got to go here. I'm going to go with Amityville 1992. It's about time because it's got a time loop in it, and we're doing all Amity this week.
All Amityville double features. All right. Well,
That makes me so happy.
if you are upset or happy about everything that we picked, you can let us know in a million different ways. HMNpodcast.com is the best way to catch our entire back catalog where we've talked about 2 of the 3 films we double featured. You can go to patreon.com/HMN for HMN Podcast for all types of fun bonus stuff. You can shoot us an email at hmnpodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us your ideas for what we should do for Listener Submitted Month. As long as it's an anniversary, we will consider it. Or buy even more exclusive shirts at hmnpodcast.dasher.com. Man, I'm going to just fumble over that word for the end of time. And hey, you know what? We talked about it last week, but once again, the new album from Ichabod Crane is available everywhere. Go and listen to that. And
You're a peach.
Fuck yeah.
Kyle, what have you been watching, reading, listening to, etc. that you want to talk about?
I'm going to just go ahead and roll up a little promotion, but truly more than promotion, it is just because I think that it's a great movie. So Fades the Light will come out June 24th, and it is a movie that I'm the associate producer of, but it's a movie that I rewatched again at Salem Horror Fest with an audience, and it really kind of made me fall in love with the movie again. Wizard behind the curtain, when you sign on to a movie or you start working on it, you just, and this is probably for any artist who has a thing that they work on over and over and over again, you just sort of have this distance between the thing, and it's not until you experience it in a different capacity that you start to see different things or maybe have a different appreciation of it. And So Fades the Light was that for me. I got to watch it with an audience at Salem Horror Fest, and everybody was so locked in. It's a movie coming out. It'll be available for pre-order, and it's about a woman who 15 years earlier, she was a young girl who escapes a right-wing gun cult. And this all takes place in Michigan, or in the United States of America, but filmed in Michigan. Yeah. She is rescued, saved, spared from a raid on this gun cult. And then 15 years later, we flash forward. She's now a young adult. She is figuring it out. She's kind of nomadic. She lives out of her van, clearly trying to figure out and understand what life has meant and given her since she grew up in this cult, and then it was stripped away from her, and she now is just living in the world. At the same time, the pastor from this cult gets released from prison, and he too is out in the world, both of them seeking some sort of either closure or new chapter or something within their lives, and this film parallels those two stories. It's not a traditional horror film. It is much more I would call it a sort of a coming-of-age road movie with thriller elements to it. And those thriller elements are actually horrific elements, because this type of cult is not a completely fictitious, cult that has silly made up altar calls or moments of sacrifice or anything like that. This is people with people's beliefs, and this is not far off from the truth. So that's where the horror element comes from. But the film itself is more of a meditation on finding yourself with a past and a history that is so skewed and confusing and difficult, and based in the hope that you find some truth or some basis, and then having that stripped away. Robert Kurtzman does the effects, which is he just he's on for a couple of days. He does the effects for our horror adjacent folks. It stars Kylie Lotz, who they were in my film Ouchie, which we talked about earlier, and I did get to watch it recently, so I wanted to share that it's not just a promotion thing, but I actually got to experience it in a way as an audience member that I really fucking appreciated. Very cool. So that's going to be out the 24th of June, I believe, and available for pre-order. Pre-order really helps in a lot of ways. In more ways than one might think. While I appreciate anybody who might check it out on streaming and wait for it to become available on a streaming platform that they already pay for or pay monthly for, if you can rent or pre-order it goes a long way. And especially for independent filmmakers who, these guys and gals and they, then them, everybody devoted their, 3 years of their lives to making this thing happen. And it's really exciting to have it out on an actual accessible platforms. So that is my altar call. Who else wants to go next?
I'm gonna jump on that altar call to talk about something else religious that I watched. Fourth season of Righteous Gemstones. Not the best season, but it was a fun season. If you like the show, you know what you're in for. But it was definitely, I think, kind of a little bit more uneven. It felt like it was kind of jumping all over the place without a centralized plot, the way that the previous seasons all had a very distinct, here's your bad guy, and here's all the ways that this family screwed up by being awful, and let's see if they can get out of this one. This one felt a little bit more like a combination of story as well as let's just check out let's learn a little bit more about the family history of this gemstone family. So the first episode takes place during the Civil War, and it's how their great grandfather lied and cheated his way into being believed as a pastor in a local town, even though he had no political affiliation, to kind of establish that this whole family's entire history is built on fallacy, but one mega church isn't to a certain extent. Sure. But yeah, that's I don't know. That's a gentle recommend. If you like the show, it's not the worst season. Scott, take us home with hopefully something a little bit more optimistic than that.
So last weekend, Megan and I were cleaning the kitchen and cooking and spent a good 2+ hours listening to musicals, and we started with Hamilton, and then we, Megan was just in control, and she was of the music, and she's let's listen to this next. She introduced me to an amazing song. I don't know anything from a chorus line. I've never seen it before, and this is the preamble to what I watched, and it's not a chorus line. But do you guys know the song Dance 10 Looks 3 from a chorus line?
Yeah. It's an amazing song.
I can't say that I know it. There's a chance that I know it because I used to tap dance, and there's a chance that I've heard it.
You probably didn't tap. It's about tits and ass.
Yeah, it's literally Dance 10 Looks 3 is this woman saying that she swiped her dance card because she was never getting callbacks, and it turned out that she was a great dancer, but she had no tits and ass, and so she went and got plastic surgery. Fantastic song.
Okay, so no.
But also in that hours of us listening to musicals, soundtracks, Megan was she put on Camelot 1967, and she was oh my God, this is so good. I'm well, let's watch it again, because we watched it once very early on in our relationship, and I don't remember anything from it except for the Lusty Month of May song, and because I say it all the time because it's May. When when it's May, gotta sing that song. Literally May 1st, I woke her up by singing "It's May, it's May, it's the lusty month of May." So we started watching it, and it is so good. It is like just such an amazing film. The music's so killer. I really love the way that it actually kind of changed small bits of the Arthurian legend to suit like a different sensibility. It kind of made Arthur brash but not an asshole. Like a lot of Arthurian legend is very much like, since he was not of royal birth, that he was kind of a dickhead. And he does dickheadish things, but in this he's very much like a sad, wounded nerd, which I thought was a really cool angle. And the last point I want to make about it is we're watching the jousting scene where Lancelot, like has to face off against these three knights, and then he like kills one and then brings him back to life by healing him by praying over him. And I turn to Megan and I'm like, do you think that the sets and costuming of Camelot 1967 directly affected and led to the look of Renaissance fairs? Because I think this is an argument that could be posited, because they became a thing in the early 70s. I want to say it was 1972 was the first Renaissance fair. And so it's only 4-5 years after Camelot came out, and it was a huge film. I mean, Vanessa Redgrave. I mean, it's a huge film.
That album, I see every time I ever go to a record store that has a vinyl soundtrack section. It's Camelot is there.
Well, like, If I Ever Leave You got a Grammy that year for best soundtrack or song, best romantic song, something like that. I don't remember, but like it was huge. Like the romantic song from that movie was like it won tons of awards in '67.
Wow. No, I've never seen it. I don't know a lot
Highly
about
recommend.
It. Yeah.
All of that aside to say, hey, join us next week for more Horror Movie Night.
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance.
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
All right, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
And Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle.
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
Meanwhile, in New Jersey...
So, Marissa, what talking points do you want to hit on in this week's episode?
Well, Jackie, let's talk about how the film addresses the patriarchy. Ooh, and representation of marginalized people. Ooh, and even philosophical ramifications of good versus evil in horror.
We can point out the triangle boobs, talk about the blood splatter, and the practical effects. And also the male gaze.
My gaze at the males.
Hi-oh! From feminism to fangirling, the Jersey Ghouls cover all the bases of horror from a woman's perspective.
New episodes are uploaded every other Sunday.
Just search Jersey Ghouls to find us on social media and your favorite podcasting app.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.